Justin Trudeau absolutely lost his cool over the weekend. His staff always insulate him from criticism, and the Canadian media is so overwhelmingly biased towards him. He really doesn't know what to do with someone like this woman who dared to heckle him in Quebec. Take a look.
Dans la vie, de traîner à travers la province et le pays.
Madame. He's used to being lavished with praise. He has been his whole life. Ever since he was a boy, he's just not good at handling criticism. He surrounds himself with yes men. So on those rare moments when someone manages to get through his bubble to speak truth to power, he falls apart. Like this weekend in Quebec, Trudeau was giving a stump speech when that woman started heckling him. Take a look.
Dans la vie, de traîner à travers la province et le pays. Madame.
And now I'm going to show you more of it. I'm going to show you the whole thing, okay, from the beginning to the end. But let me set the clip up a bit first. I mean, heckling, that's not very friendly, is it? Well, it's actually a pretty important part of democracy. We have the right to heckle our political leaders, maybe even a duty if they're doing something really wrong. I mean, they heckle each other in Parliament, right? And Trudeau heckles back, right? I mean, who can forget Trudeau's own eloquent reply a few years back when he was in opposition to Peter Kent? Here, take a listen. You'll hear a swear being shouted in the background. That's our boy Justin.
Well, Mr. Speaker, my honourable colleague, if she had been in Durban, would have seen that, in fact, Canada was among the leaders in creating the...
Order.
That was Trudeau. He later apologized.
I lost my temper and used language that was most decidedly unparliamentary, and for that I unreservedly apologize, Mr. Speaker, and withdraw my remarks.
That Zorro mustache was just perfect for him, wasn't it? Anyways, heckling, yeah, not so good at, say, weddings or funerals, but those are private events, ceremonies, really. A politician giving a stump speech, it's pretty much the number one place you should heckle, other than maybe at a comedy club. And like at a comedy club, how the speaker deals with hecklers is really a test of your temperament. I mean, for comedians, it's a test of how quick you can think on your feet and how funny you are. For politicians, it's a test of how quick you can think on your feet and how smart you are or how funny you are. A funny reply to a heckler can be as winning for a politician as for a comedian. So how did boy Trudeau do? Well, I'll show you. Just FYI, the grandmother who heckles Trudeau, she's talking about Trudeau's decision to let in tens of thousands of illegal immigrants from the United States, just walking right across our borders, not applying legally, but pretending to be refugees when, of course, they're not. No one coming from the United States is a refugee. But Trudeau lets them all stay, and he even puts them up in hotels at the expense of Canadian taxpayers. So without further ado, watch this grandmother heckle Trudeau, and watch his response.
Mais madame, on a livré une augmentation du supplément de revenu garanti de 1 000 $ par mois, 1 000 $ par année pour les aînés seuls les plus vulnérables. On a investi des milliards de dollars pour l'allocation canadienne aux enfants, qui a fait une énorme différence dans la vie de traîner à travers la province et le pays. Madame, une des choses importantes, madame, en politique, c'est l'écoute. Mes amis, c'est l'écoute qui compte. On est en dialogue. Je suis.
Ben vous me répondez pas,
répondez-moi. Monsieur, c'est pas très gentil. Répondez-moi. On est ici pour échanger, pour dialoguer. J'ai bien hâte de vous écouter, si, à condition que vous m'écoutiez, madame. Vous avez quelque chose à dire, madame?
Je veux savoir quand vous allez nous remettre le 146 millions qu'on a payé pour vos immigrants illégaux.
OK. Madame.
C'est nous autres qui avons payé pour ça.
Okay, now, so far, so good. He actually tells the heckling grandma that they have to listen to each other. That sounds calm and friendly enough and respectful enough. And to tell you the truth, it makes him look good, don't you think? So he actually invites her to put her question. And she does. Without insults, without profanity. She doesn't call him a piece of shit like he called Peter Kent. And it's a real question. What about the $164 million spent on Trudeau's illegal immigrants so far? It's a question that everyone is asking in Canada, at least different versions of that question. Even the mainstream media acknowledges it's an issue, it's a crisis. They use that word, crisis. The opposition in Parliament calls it a crisis. His own bureaucrats call it a crisis. And the Liberal Premier of Quebec calls it a crisis, so much so that he insists on busing Trudeau's illegal immigrants to Toronto because he doesn't even want them in his province. So what's Trudeau's first answer? She was heckling him, but then he invited her to put her question, get it out of her system. And she did, very succinctly. I mean, sure, she's irritating, but if you don't like that, don't go into politics. She put her question, and immediately, his immediate reaction was to attack her as racist. She didn't call him names, but he immediately called her, and presumably anyone else who dares to share the same opinions as her, why they're intolerant racists. Take a look.
L'intolérance par rapport aux immigrants, ça n'a pas sa place au Canada. Cette intolérance par rapport à la diversité.
So she's intolerant, she's racist towards immigrants, but she wasn't. She just asked him a real question. Who's going to pay for it all? Why does she have to pay $146 million along with other taxpayers? How's that a racist question? What's that got to do with race at all? Trudeau is setting the example on how to treat people who disagree. You can see other people telling her to shut up. Now, fair enough. She can dish it out. She can take it. But then look, someone falsely accuses her of making a threat of violence. I mean, it's a hoax, but right away, a plainclothes RCMP officer comes right over to check it out. And she obviously denies it. And we know the truth because we've been listening and watching her. You can tell the guy who comes over is RCMP because he's got an earpiece in his ear. He talks to her once or twice, but he basically leaves her alone. Take a look.
Votre intolérance n'a pas sa place parmi nous ce soir. Merci beaucoup, mes amis. Il faut que vous sachiez que la force, c'est de se rassembler et non de se non de semer la peur, non de semer l'intolérance, madame. Oui, madame.
On n'est pas un territoire mohawk. On n'est pas un territoire mohawk. On n'est pas un territoire mohawk. On n'est pas un On n'est pas un territoire mohawk.
Avez-vous la tolérance envers les Québécois de souche?
So she's responded in an interesting way. She was just accused by Justin Trudeau of being intolerant because she dared to question his immigration crisis and specifically its costs. By the way, most Canadians are opposed to Trudeau on immigration. Trudeau's own polls show that 92% of Canadians don't want increased immigration, but he's forcing it on us anyways. You could say he's intolerant of our views. So she asks Trudeau, and she says, Mr. Trudeau. She's being even more polite now, actually. She asks if Mr. Trudeau is tolerant of old stock Quebecers. And remember, this is in Quebec. Their ethnic identity, their distinct society status, their specialness has been drummed into the rest of us Canadians by Liberal politicians for 50 years since the FLQ crisis, right? So it's hardly radical what she says there. Quebecers do have an ethnic cultural identity. I mean, don't be surprised. It's what we've been told to accept for decades, it's really for centuries, since Lower Canada was given special French Catholic privileges under the British Empire. And that's fine by me. Quebecers obviously are different than the rest of Canadians. My point is, this woman wasn't asking anything that Trudeau himself hasn't said his whole life. He's a Quebec chauvinist himself. Remember this?
Quebecers are better than the rest of Canada because, we're Quebecers.
Yeah. So let's keep watching now. So the speech is over. She had her heckles. The RCMP came over, stood right by her, obviously saw who she was, an angry grandma, but not anyone posing any danger at all, not making threats, not swearing, not really even shouting except to be heard. Trudeau himself invited her to speak. She did. Everything's fine. I mean, Trudeau's reaction was way, way over the top, immediately escalating to calling her names. But let's keep watching because the worst is yet to come. Now notice there's a guy behind her in a cap, a light shirt and a dark knapsack. That's another RCMP officer in plain clothes. He follows her towards Trudeau. And again, no problem. That's good policing. Just to make sure nothing goes wrong. Just to make sure she doesn't, I don't know, try to hit him or something or grab him. But he's so low key at first. Take a look.
Allez-y, ramper, donne la main à ce
Non, mais c'est assez.
Hey, il n'y a pas de strike, il n'y a pas de parler.
Moi, je me fais plus des opinions. Avoir des opinions, mais peut-être les écrire sans les crier. Elle s'en va là. Elle s'en va.
Moi, je vais m'en aller par là-bas, le fond, la rentrée.
Monsieur Trudeau, êtes-vous tolérant avec les Québécois de souche? Êtes-vous tolérant avec les Québécois de souche? Répondez-moi, vous non plus, vous n'avez pas votre place au Québec. Avez-vous compris? Vous n'avez pas votre place au Québec.
Je suis fier québécois, madame. Je suis fier québécois.
So he calls her racist a few more times and says he's a proud Quebecer. And he says she does not belong in Quebec. You can see a couple more RCMP in very dark vests helping to push him forward, push people back. You can hear her, but you can't see her anymore. But now look at this new camera angle. And for about 10 seconds, you can't hear her anymore either. Take a look. Look at that. Look back there near the tractors. The guy who was following her when she approached the Prime Minister, you can see his hat, you can see his backpack there near the tractors, you can see her shirt, and he's holding her. He's got her, and he's moved her over to the tractors. Okay, keep rolling.
Regardez qu'est-ce qu'on fait là, madame. Regardez qu'est-ce qu'on fait. Vous allez venir avec moi?
Non.
They're demanding an ID card from her. Why? But look what they're doing to her arm there. Look at how they're holding her arm. Look at how they're bending it for maximum pain. They're holding her bicep and pushing her wrist down. Now she's far away from the Prime Minister now. He has left. You saw him leave. She never said anything threatening to him. She asked him a question, and then you saw it. He came, when he left, he walked right to her. He leaned over. He came up to her for him to have another go at her. He went to her. He obviously wasn't scared of her, but he wasn't ignoring her either. He went up to her to humiliate her a bit, to quarrel with her a bit. So he wasn't scared of her, and she wasn't scary, and he's the one who insulted her, saying she does not belong in Quebec. You heard him say that. And so the RCMP pull her away? Why? Trudeau came towards her to finish their quarrel. But now, to hurt her like that, to bend her wrist like that, for what? Watch some more.
OK. Là, vous allez venir avec moi maintenant. Regardez.
Lâche-moi, tu me fais mal, mes os ils cassent, je fais de l'ostéoporose.
Bon, regardez.
Lâche-moi, là.
Je veux juste.
Regarde, je vais être bien.
Je veux juste.
Elle menace pas personne, elle menace pas personne.
J'ai pas menacé
Elle a juste voulu
personne.
parler.
J'ai le droit de dire mon opinion à M. Trudeau. Fait que lâche-moi. As-tu compris? Tu me lâches.
Vous avez aucune autorité pour tenir cette madame-là. Vous avez aucune autorité.
So I don't know if you noticed it, but a second undercover cop comes over. But really, why does she have to go with them? Trudeau has left. He bravely came up to her, called her some names. She didn't call him names. In fact, she's calling him Mr. Trudeau now. He called her names, but they're handling her, bruising her. She says, now, I don't know if she's telling the truth about being bruised, but it sure didn't look comfortable to have your wrist like that. Trudeau has left. And even if he hadn't, what had she done? In fact, wasn't it Trudeau who came over to her? Keep rolling the tape.
Tu m'as fait un bleu, regarde! Qu'est-ce qui se passe? Ben, j'ai juste dit à M. Trudeau, j'ai posé des questions à M. Trudeau, c'est tout.
Elle doit
Ben, il m'a ramassé. J'ai donné mes opinions, puis je suis pas obligée de t'arrêter quand j'ai demandé des questions. C'est ça.
Avez-vous une pièce d'essai avec vous?
Non, j'en ai pas, lâche-moi, ça fait des fois.
C'est quoi votre nom?
Tu sauras pas.
Je suis policier, madame.
Ben oui. Hey, moi,
C'est
là,
quoi votre badge, monsieur? On veut l'avoir.
62945.
62945.
OK, je suis policier, je suis gendarme de la GRC, madame. J'ai pas fini avec vous, là.
non,
She's not done? Really? And what more will he do to her? And on what basis will he do it? Has she been depersoned yet by Trudeau, fired from her job? Though I sense she's probably retired. Humiliated in public? Oh, that will come soon enough. On what grounds would the police not be done with her yet? You know, the police in Quebec know how to be very hospitable, super friendly, very accommodating to foreign illegal immigrants breaking the law. Then the police are positively bellhops, carrying luggage, fetching them lunch. But they're illegal immigrants. This woman is much worse. She's an old stock Quebecer asking about illegal immigrants, and Trudeau says she doesn't belong in the province. So the police aren't done with her yet. Two of them now. Trudeau's long gone. He's in his bulletproof limo. He's gone back to another personal day or whatever, but this woman's not free to go yet. But watch this next part. It's classic. It's amazing, actually. Take a look.
non, mais moi j'ai fini quand tu m'as fait mal. Hey! Tu m'as fait mal! Regarde le bleu que tu m'as fait! Regarde! C'est qui va te poser? Regarde le bleu que tu m'as fait.
OK, madame, là, vous allez juste écouter, là, s'il vous plaît.
Non, j'écoute
Ce
pas.
monsieur-là aussi, c'est tout...
Nous sommes témoins de la liberté d'expression au Québec.
Je connais pas. Je savais pas que c'était une question à M. Trudeau, puis il nous traite d'intolérants. C'est lui qui est intolérant avec les Québécois de souche. C'est clair? Ben non, c'est hystérique, c'est une femme. Un gars qui dit sa opinion, lui, il a des couilles. Mais une femme qui dit son opinion est hystérique. Laisse-moi tranquille.
Oh, you're hysterical, lady. You're mad. Isn't she great? She says, no, if I were a man, you'd say I had balls. But again, really, who was hysterical? This woman or Trudeau? They both shouted, but only Trudeau called her names 6 times. They both exercised their freedom of speech, but only Trudeau's bodyguards thought that a physical altercation was necessary. And if someone did that to my arm because I dared to question the precious one, I'd probably be more hysterical than she was. That's it. She leaves after that. The tape ends in about 10 more seconds. Hey, did you see any of the footage I just showed you on TV? I understand that CTV actually played a brief clip of her hollering at the PM, but did you see on TV him insulting her 6 times, calling her racist, calling her intolerant, and saying she has no place in Quebec? But more to the point, did you see him going over to her afterwards to grind her face in it, to really rub it in her face? She was intolerant, that there's no place in this country for her. No, you did not see that on CTV or CBC, at least not as of the moment I'm recording this. And you did not see the clip of the bodyguards bending her wrist, roughing her up just a little bit, just enough to leave a mark, even just for a few minutes on her arm, and just enough to psychologically mark her, so that she knows if she does it again, she'll be hurt, maybe hurt much worse. Did you see that on the media party TV stations? No, you did not. 4 times Justin Trudeau said she was intolerant. 2 times said she was racist. No place here. Twice to be called racist. No place in Quebec. It's 6 insults to her for asking a question, for daring to ask about the #1 issue in Quebec today. And it's not insignificant to note the Liberal partisan who falsely accused her of making threats. Remember earlier in the video, falsely accusing her of making threats. You saw it was false. And of course, it is important to note the bodyguards, who she did not make any threats. They were treating her as if she did. Did you see this comedy headline over the weekend? Trudeau says 2019 election is fight against polarization, and then says Liberals want positive politics, Conservatives reject. Imagine being a reporter, watching Trudeau insult this woman 6 times, and then writing that absurd headline. Trudeau wants a healing, positive country, unlike those evil Conservatives. This, my friends, is what we're in for the next 12 months. You are that grandma. If you dare to ask any questions, however nicely or however loudly, you will be called intolerant and racist, and that you have no place in this country. Not the place that illegal immigrants have, that's for sure. And the media party, they will cheer along with your denunciation. Say, what do you think the media party would have done if it were Stephen Harper who had smeared a Liberal citizen 6 times in 2 minutes as a bigot merely for asking a question about government spending? And if Harper had literally walked up to that grandma afterwards to pick a fight some more, and then if Harper's bodyguards would have bent a grandma's wrist just to teach her a little lesson. Yeah, it would be crisis-style coverage for a week. But for Trudeau, well, the media knows its job. Ignore this story or denounce the woman as a bigot too. I wonder how Andrew Scheer's going to fare in a battle like this. That's an excerpt from my daily TV show, The Ezra Levant Show. Normally it's behind a paywall, but I thought you'd like this video, so we put it on YouTube. If you want to subscribe to watch the daily show every day, including always 2 interviews a day, and I read my hate mail, just click on this screen and become a premium member.